guys, Mortgage Mike here. As you can see, it was a beautiful morning this morning on the way to the airport. I got there bright and early, about 5:30 in the morning, to pre-flight the plane for our long cross country, which is essentially 3 legs. The total trip has to be more than 150 nautical miles and have 3 full stop landings. So we left from Centennial this morning around 6, just after 6, and flew to Limon, which I'm becoming very familiar with, and then ended up heading from there to Pueblo. So the flight to Limon was no issues at all. We did flight following, so it's where you call Denver Approach or Denver Center. I still kind of get them all confused, but I kept the altitude well. It's kind of an extra layer of babysitting where they'll let you know where traffic is, and if they need to have you move one way or the other to avoid traffic, that's for the best. And did a left downwind to land on runway 34. Pretty smooth landing, I think Bonnie would agree. And just kind of pulled over, recentered everything. Didn't get out of the plane or shut it down, but got my new nav log ready to go. Did some radio work getting in and out of Limon, and then we were off to Pueblo. I don't know if you've been to Pueblo. The airport is very flat. A lot of it is flat, but when your traffic pattern, which is typically 1,000 feet above the runway, is like 5,400 feet, maybe a little bit higher, and your normal at home is 5,800 on the ground, you realize you're gonna lose some altitude as you're coming down there. But it was smooth sailing. We had 2 waypoints on the way, a couple of private runways, airports, not really airports, just runways, and finally got into Pueblo as I was making for a 3-mile straight in on 08 right. I realized that I had not had the airport in sight, and I was looking just too far into the future, and it was like, oh, that was kind of embarrassing, to be honest, for a guy who's trying to do this. But landed smoothly. One thing to note about Pueblo is that the runway is 150 feet wide. That's like 50 yards in football or any other sport, really, because the yards don't matter. But when we got to Pueblo, we got out of the plane, had a little potty stop. They got a really cool FBO there. We had some complimentary coffee and ice cream bar, and we kind of just game prep for our flight back to Centennial. It was nice to kind of just get out and stretch the old legs for a little while. All the procedures are different, Centennial versus other places. So I was trying to figure out, how do I call the ground to get them to tell me where to taxi? When in reality, I'm just kind of used to doing that here at home at Centennial. So it all went fine. Got off the ground. You could tell it was a little warmer. The climbs rate was not quite as aggressive as it typically is on a crisp morning for old 332. Interestingly, that if you don't know this, the hotter it gets and the higher you get, the worse your plane does. So summertime is going to be real fun, but that does come into factoring in landing distances and takeoff distances and all that sort of stuff. So. But on the way back, we kind of just went to the east of Class Charlie, which was all the Colorado Springs area. We worked with Springs Approach for navigation, and they would hand us off eventually to, I think just straight actually to Centennial Tower. And we were cleared into the Bravo, which just doesn't mean much to anybody, and I still, I'm like, I know what it means. You're not supposed to do it without permission, but we made it over 8,000 feet up under that shelf. So like I'm Bravo rated, pretty much, I'm sure. Bravo, Michael. And then we went for a long straight in on runway 28, and that landing was pretty smooth as well. So all in all, it was a great day, and hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm sure we will check back